because obviously it's hard to have someone working in corporate that doesn't understand the trials and tribulations and joys that distributors go through. And what many of you don't know was that Jason Borné was actually a diamond director in Jeunesse. So Jason started in the business about 10 years ago, became a diamond director. He was actually part of my team. So I'm a little bit annoyed that he's left working as distributor and working at corporate, because now I'm one diamond down. So let's find out a little bit more about Jason. Everyone here wants to know more about you on a personal level. Jason, tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Well, Lyndon, thank you for having me. Before I do that, I'd like to let everyone know that, Lyndon, you are a good-looking man, and don't think we haven't noticed. So I have a lot of fun with Lyndon just about every morning as we talk about Jeunesse and where things are going, and it's an exciting time. But I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I got involved in the network marketing world when I was an 18-year-old kid, and that was 32 years ago. Now, I heard the good doctor talk about, your skin and being on a video. I don't know how I look to all of you, but I hope I don't look 50 years old. I am 50 years old, but we have some really good skincare products that I learned about in 2012, and my wife and I have been using them religiously ever since. But I started when I was a kid, and it all started for me when my basketball coach called me. It was kind of funny. I was 18, I was going to college, and he called me and literally read a script. And he said, "Jason, would you be open to looking at a way to increase your income that would not interfere with what you're doing?" And I joked, I said, "Well, I don't have an income and I'm not doing anything. So yes, I imagine I'm open." So I went to a meeting, and a guy got up and drew a bunch of blue circles on a whiteboard. And I will never forget seeing those circles for the first time, and him saying that if I worked very hard in sharing this business and sharing these products with everybody that I've known, with everybody that I know, and with everybody that I come to know, that those people would then talk to people that they knew, who would talk to people that they knew that I didn't know, and that business had the potential to go all over the world. And everything that guy said that night was true. Now, it took me a lot longer than I thought. It was a lot harder than I thought, but it was a lot better than I thought. And so I was able to build that company as a young person, and ultimately have been in the network marketing world for 32 years, both on the corporate side and as a distributor. I've launched several companies with Terry Lacore, who we're going to talk about today. But my journey led me to 2012. I had been married for about a year and a half. I actually met my wife at a network marketing meeting. We had launched a company. There were about 1,500 people in the room. I was up on stage doing what we do. And my future father-in-law, who I knew, had 3 daughters, but I hadn't met them, walked into the room. And my now wife of 14 years and her 2 sisters and her mom came and sat down on the very front row. And I saw her, and I told my business partner there at the time that's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. And after he said a few funny things, I said, "I think I'm going to go out with her, and I think I might marry her." And it happened that way. And it's been a dream with my wife, Jen, ever since. We've got 2 children. Daniel, our firstborn son, is 9, and Betsy, our daughter, is 7. And they grew up in Jeunesse. They grew up literally having an incredible relationship with Randy and Wendy, the founders, and they've been all over the world because of Jeunesse. And so I feel like Jeunesse is definitely a part of our life. And I never dreamed that I would be where I am now, but it's been a very exciting time, and it's an honor and privilege to serve as your CEO, and to, with Lyndon and a bunch of incredible people, lead the charge into the future of Jeunesse, which I believe is going to be brighter than it's ever been.
So Jason, I know you've got a beautiful family, that's for sure. We've both chosen well with tall, leggy, blonde women. Done very well there. Well done. I love part of your story. I know you've got a passion for basketball, and that first company was obviously, you know, Amway back in the day. In the United States, one of the biggest sports stars of all time is obviously Shaquille O'Neal. Today, he's gone from being at the very, very top of basketball to being, you know, one of the top businessmen in the United States. Tell us a little bit about how network marketing for you also started a relationship with Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, so when I first got involved in the business, and this is advice that's good advice today for you to both use and teach your people and your team. My sponsor, who was, again, my basketball coach, his father was the athletic director at LSU, where Shaquille O'Neal played basketball. And I, at the time, was trying to walk on to the LSU basketball team. My father joked, son, the only two things that are going to keep you out of the NBA are talent and ability, which that obviously happened. So thank God this worked out. But I got a chance to get to know Shaq. And when I got involved in Amway, he said, go find the most influential person that you know. And for me, that was Shaquille O'Neal. And so I went to Shaq and I said, hey, Shaq, you know, I'm getting involved in this thing called Amway. I didn't understand what Amway was. I had never heard of Amway. But he goes, all right, well, what is it? I said, well, I'm going to make you some money. I just need to tell people that you're in business with me. I need you to tell them that. And he's like, all right, fine. So I went and I told everybody that I knew that I was in business with Shaquille O'Neal. And they, of course, asked, well, why is Shaquille not at the meetings? I said, well, he's at practice. You know, he's on the team. He can't come. But if anybody would ever ask Shaq about Amway, he was very positive about it. And he said, it's something you should do. And so ironically, in, you know, using Shaq's name and using an influential person's name, for those of you in Australia, that would be somebody like Lyndon Biernoff. But I was able to sponsor a whole lot of people. And ironically, about a year and a half later, my business had taken off. And a guy named Rich DeVos, who was the co-founder and the CEO of Amway and owner, bought the Orlando Magic basketball team in the NBA. And about 6 months after he bought it, Shaquille O'Neal was drafted into the NBA, and the Orlando Magic just so happened to have the first pick in the NBA draft. And so they drafted Shaquille O'Neal. And so I'll never forget, Shaq got on, you know, their 737 jet, which, you know, if you picture a Southwest, I don't know if you have Southwest there, but Southwest here is a 737 jet. But their jet was gutted out with all the seats out and all the baggage out and everything out. They had couches in it. They had a ping pong table. They had a bedroom. And this is the jet that Shaq ended up flying on to go to Michigan, which is where Amway was, and then to Orlando to play for the Magic. And I remember him joking with me saying, hey, man, you didn't tell me this is what Amway was. And I said, well, it's a little bit different, Shaq. Those are the owners of the company. But Shaquille O'Neal ended up playing for Amway. And Rich DeVos became his mentor. He taught him about managing money. He taught him about not throwing all his money away. And so Shaq will still credit Rich to this day for a lot of what he learned about money. So several years later, fast forward, we launched a network marketing company. And I called Shaq along with a dear friend of mine named Todd. I need to give Todd a lot of this credit because Todd stayed very close to Shaq. And we called Shaq. And this was a music company that we helped start. And we said, Shaq, do you like music? He goes, I love music. In fact, I love music more than basketball. I said, Shaq, do you like money? He goes, that's a stupid question. Of course I like money. I said, Shaq, we're going to make money selling music. And he said, I'm in. And he signed up just like anybody else for $429. He was playing for the Miami Heat at the time. And several weeks later, they won the NBA championship in 2006. And Shaq said, my season's over. I'm the NBA champ. What can I do to help you? And I said, Shaq, we need you to film a video. So we went to the Lowe's Hotel in South Beach, Miami. We rented out the presidential suite. And Shaquille O'Neal filmed a video for us for network marketing, which has never been done before and probably will never be done in the future. He did it for free because he said, I know what Rich did with Amway. And I believe in this industry and I believe in this business. And so that was kind of the beginning of my network marketing career. I joke and say that Shaquille and I went pro at the same time. We both quit college at the same time, but he still did a little bit better than me. So, but the game's not over yet, Lyndon.
I love that you've started an amazing family, 2 gorgeous kids. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about those life principles in general that you really hold very dear to your heart and that you're kind of passing on to your kids and also friends and people that you're close to?
Well, growing up being a basketball player, I had a lot of great coaches. And these coaches taught me from a very young age that I would become what I would think about most. And so what we've done with our kids is we have trained them to think like champions. We have trained them to think like winners, because the only difference we teach them between somebody that wins in life and somebody that loses in life is not the color of their skin, is not the country they come from, is not their race, is not their religious beliefs. It has nothing to do with any of that. Doesn't matter which side of the tracks they came from. I joke, it doesn't matter if you come from Yale or jail or Penn State or the state pen, if you're white, black, tall, fat, skinny, or small. The only difference is the way that you think between these 6 inches. And so we've tried to instill in our kids that they are going to become what they think, and that the way that they think is going to be affected by the books that they read, what they watch on TV and on the internet, what they listen to, and most importantly, what comes out of their mouth. And so we have a thing we do with our kids every day. We say attitude check, and they say, I feel great. We say attitude check. They say, I feel great. We say attitude check. They say, I feel great. And then we say, you have received your checkup from the neck up. And we do a lot of fun stuff like that with them. We've also taught them the power of the word can't and the power of the word but. If my kids say the word can't, they have to do push-ups. Jen's family grew up not believing that you should spank a child. So I've never spanked my kids, but I do make them do push-ups when they say the word can't. I do make them do push-ups when they say the word but. Excuses are not accepted in our family because I want to create the pattern of thinking that's going to help them win. Now, that's the positive motivational side. That's the mindset side. But the spiritual side and the being a good human being side and the reaping what you sow side, and I know in Australia you guys call it the boomerang of life, is we teach them that when faced with the choice to be right or to be kind, to always choose kind. We teach them that they are no better than anyone, but they are also no worse than anyone. We teach them that they were created by a God that loves them, and they were created to do great things, and they were born to make a difference in the world. And that difference they make in the world is not about how many cars and how many houses and how many jet planes and how many things that they have, but what they can create so they can give back to the world to make the world a better place. And one of the most, common things we say in our home is that the secret to living is giving. And if you want to be happy, don't chase happiness, become happiness. Give happiness away, and then you will never have to chase it. It will always chase you. When it comes to peace, we teach them the same thing. Don't chase peace, be peace. Be peaceful, share peace, and you'll never have to chase it. It will chase you. And we're starting to teach them the same thing, Lyndon, about money. That if you take your eyes off of yourself and you put them on other people, and you put others' needs before your needs. If you want a new house, go help 10 people how to go get a new house first. And then you can have as many houses as you want. But if you take your eyes off of you and you put them on others, you will never have to chase money. Money will always chase you. So we teach them to be confident. We teach them to be convicted. We teach them to fight for their beliefs. But we also teach them to be kind, to be humble, and to understand that there's more in this life than getting, that the secret to living is, again, in the giving.
Now, we move from family through to network marketing, being involved in the industry for many, many, many years. What's some of the X factors that you've seen with the many different personalities that you see in this industry that can really lead to success? So what's some of those X factors that you've seen with network marketers?
Well, Lyndon, I am a big believer, and I have been because it's what happened to me. And I can only talk about my experience. I don't know your experience. I can read about your experience. I can listen to your experience. But until I experience it, I don't know it to be truth, because it wasn't truth for me. But the truth for me is that I believe that people that work on themselves and people that build themselves become the type of people that other people want to be around. And I believe that in network marketing, you've heard a lot about the law of attraction, probably. You've heard about the likability factor. I believe that becoming a person that other people want to be around is the number one key to success in building a large organization and holding together a large organization in network marketing. And I'm not saying this just because he's interviewing me, but you have on that stage right now one of the most likable, one of the most fun to be around leaders that I have ever met in this industry. But he became that way because he married an incredible woman, I know, but he also worked on himself. And, in my experience, I turned off my television. When I signed up in network marketing, television was a big deal. And I turned that TV off, and I literally put it in a box and put duct tape around it and put it in my attic for 10 years because I believed that my personal growth and my personal momentum was never going to allow me to let my business momentum pass me. John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. And he says, if you're a 7 on the scale of 1 to 10 in your leadership ability, you'll never attract another 7. You're going to attract 6s and 5s and 4s and 3s and 2s and 1s. So if you want to attract a Lyndon, you've got to raise that leadership lid. And the way you do that is personal development. The way you do that is self-development. I read a book a week for 10 years. People say, Jason, when you talk, you never have notes. And I don't think I'm smart enough to even remember notes. I don't know how to do a PowerPoint. I was in Canada today and they wanted me to do a PowerPoint. I said, I don't know how. I don't know which slides are coming next. It will be the worst presentation you've ever seen. But you can give me a microphone and I can talk for the next 72 hours and never say the same thing twice. And the reason for that is because what I inputted into my eyes and what I inputted into my ears is what comes out of my mouth. I was taught in Bible school that out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth will speak, will flow your tongue. And so I believe that network marketers that take personal development seriously and that also associate themselves around people who believe in their dreams, who believe in their vision, who believe that there is a better life other than the status quo and being average, that if you will surround yourself with those people and that becomes your tribe and you are committed to personal development and you get rid of all the negative influences in your life that are trying to pull you down. We used to call them crabs in a bucket because if you put one crab in a bucket, it'll jump out. It'll crawl right out. If you put 2, they will fight each other until they never get out. And that's what I found in network marketing. So to wrap that all up, everything rises and falls in network marketing based on the distributors and their leadership ability. Everything rises in network marketing based on what I call the banks, the corporate staff, the company, based on their leadership ability and the law of the lid. So if network marketing is about attracting the right people into your life, and working like it all depends on you and praying like it all depends on God or whatever you believe to bring people into your life that are dreamers, that have a vision, that want a better life, then it's all about becoming the person that you want to attract. Because what I have learned is you do not attract in this business what you want. You attract in this business what you are. So if you want to start attracting Level 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, become that. Become that in your everyday life. You want to attract people that work every single day and stay consistent, then work every single day and stay consistent. It's very simple. But everything rises and falls on leadership. You raise the leadership lid. I believe you're going to attract the people in your life if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to understand, and I know we're going to talk about this, that change is always going to happen. It's always going to come, and it is the people that know how to not only react, but respond and adapt to that change that will long-term become successful. 3 rules of leadership. You have to have an IQ, which is your intelligence. You have to have a sense of kind of what's going on and not be clueless. Can we agree with that? That's your IQ. You have to have an EQ, which is an emotional quotient. Lyndon and I have some very dear friends that have very high IQs, but their emotional quotient is awful. If something goes wrong, they freak out. You got to stay calm. You got to stay cool. You got to know that everything that comes your way, everything that happens is part of the plan, and it is to be expected. So you have to remain an even keel and have an emotional quotient. And I would tell you 90% of people can develop the IQ and they can develop the EQ, but most never develop the AQ, and that is the adaptability quotient. When your company starts to go backwards, how do you adapt? When your company doesn't have the legs to hold the weight of the success that it's created and starts to go backwards, how do you adapt? How do you adapt when your team comes to you and they have doubts and they have fears? How do you adapt to that? How do you move forward? And how do you paint the picture and the vision that this is all to be expected? This is all part of the process. This is all part of your greatest struggle becoming your greatest victory. And I think, Lyndon, to answer your question, again, very long-winded, but the people that have that become the best leaders, and the best leaders not only attract followers, but they also attract other leaders.
You touched on something that's been a bit of a theme, here at the conference the last 2 days, and that's about embracing change and disruption, and knowing that that's the only thing that's certain in life, that we're going to have success in life as to how well we can adapt and deal with those changes. That's been a massive thing for Jeunesse over the past, month plus. There's been an awful lot of changes, and Jeunesse has had to reinvent itself. Can you give everyone a little bit of just a bit of a brief overview as to what's been that disruption, that reinvention of Jeunesse that's taken place, since sort of the end of January?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory, Lyndon, if that's okay. I think who you're in business with is always more important than the business that you're in. I think who you're in business with is more important than your products. It's more important than your compensation plan. It's more important than most things, because you can have a great product, a great comp plan. You can have even great culture. You can do great events. You can do great things. But if the wrong people are leading that company, and when I say wrong people, I don't mean that they're bad people. I don't mean that they have any ill intent to hurt people or to not make the company work. But if the wrong people are steering the ship, if the wrong pilot is flying your plane, then you are destined to failure. It does not matter how beautiful the plane is and how many bedrooms and showers and ping pong tables it has in it. If the pilot's the wrong pilot, the plane is eventually going to crash. And so people are everything to me in this business. And I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman by the name of Terry Lacore, who I'm sure you have heard his name by now. It was 2005 or 2006, and I walked into a pizza shop in North Dallas. My best friend at the time was a guy named Brian, and Brian said, "We got to go meet this guy named Terry. He's an up-and-coming entrepreneur. He's actually owned a company and taken that company public, and he has had a business all over the world." And Brian said to me, "Jason, I want to learn how to build the back end of one of these companies. I want to understand everything about it so that one day maybe we'll even be able to start a company." And so we sat down with Terry, and I can tell you, had been in network marketing at that time about 14 years. I'd never met anybody like Terry. I had gotten to know the founders of Amway very well because I was very young, and my story was much bigger than the money. But since I was very young, I got to be in a lot of meetings and was able to break a lot of records. And so I got to know those owners. I got to know that leadership, and they were incredible. But I'd never met anybody like Terry, who had come from the field, just like all of you, but who had then wanted to take a corporate role and learn that side of the business, and then ultimately became an owner of a business that became massively successful. And there he was meeting with us at this pizza shop. And he looked at us and he said, "You guys are young, but you guys have enough talent and ability to build your own company and to start your own company." Now, me at that time, I just wanted to make $100,000 a month. I had no desire to start a company. My best friend, Brian, he wanted to start a company. He could see beyond just the picture of being a distributor. And so Terry looked at us and said, "Do you guys want to start a company?" And we did. And I ended up taking a corporate role with that company, and I learned a lot about that, but I learned more from being underneath Terry's mentorship. See, I'm a big believer that in life, if you show me your mentor, I will predict your future. And Terry became a very valuable mentor to me over the next 2 to 3 years. We ended up launching that company. That went all over the world. We launched another company together. And I watched Terry over these last 16, 17 years build what I like to call the banks. When you look at a network marketing company or any company, you have two things going on. You have the banks, which is the infrastructure. It's the merchant banking. It's the logistics. It's the shipping and receiving. It is the compensation model that's put together. And the minds behind that. It's IT, it's programming, it's the corporate staff, it's distributor and field relations, it's the warehouse people. It is all of the things that are required to build the foundation of the house, to build the foundation of the business. It is the banks. The river is all of you. The river are the people. The river are the sales. The river are your teams. The river is the culture that you create and the massive momentum that you create by going out and doing what you know how to do better than anybody in the world. If you have no river in a business and you only have banks, you have a drought. You have no business, you have no sales, there is no money. But if you have all river and your banks aren't strong enough and the river goes over the banks and breaks the banks, you have a flood. And Terry taught me this concept. And I watched his businesses grow, and he had trouble with the banks. So he vowed to never, ever be involved in a business again where the river was going to outrun the banks. And so Terry built the best banks in the world. He built research and development. He built infrastructure. He built the foundational principles and everything you need to do billions of dollars a year through a company. And so, as most of you know in this room, Jeunesse started to have some challenges several years ago. Again, I was a distributor about 9 weeks ago, so I know exactly what you went through. I went through it. I watched the business do that. I watched it do that, and then I watched it do that. And the challenge with that was never the river. We've got the best people in the world. I still believe the best people in the world are here. The best people in the world are in that room. The best people in the world were in the room that I was in Canada today. They were in Orange County in the room that I was in last week. They are going to be in Taiwan this coming weekend. They're going to be in Macau. They were in Singapore and Malaysia, and they're all over Australia. I still believe we have the best people. So the river was never the problem. But when you grow too fast, picture a bridge. Picture a bridge that was built, but they didn't calculate the weight of the cars and the trucks going over that bridge, and the legs of that bridge cannot hold the bridge, and the bridge collapses. Sometimes when you grow too fast, you don't have the legs and the strength to hold the weight of your success. And I believe that that's what happened to Jeunesse, and that's what I watched. There were a lot of factors. It's no fault of any one person, but it happened, and because of that, you suffered. And so about 2.5 years ago, I talked to Terry and I said, "Terry, Jeunesse needs help. You're the best in the world at figuring out what it needs. Will you go talk to the leaders at Jeunesse, to the corporate people, to the owners, and will you see if it's fixable?" And Terry came back and he said, it's fixable, but they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And a lot of those decisions, for whatever reason, were not made. And so the business continued to decline. And so about 3 or 4 weeks before, I got the opportunity to be with Lyndon and to be with Craig, who I know is there in Hawaii. Terry made the decision that the business was worth saving, that the river and the people were worth saving, that the relationship with the doctors were worth saving, that these incredible products that have, changed the way that people look and changed the way that people feel, and this business that has changed the way people live was worth saving. And so I went to Hawaii, and he said, I want you to go meet with the leaders. I want you to go meet with the emeralds and meet with the diamonds. And I want you to see, is there still life in this business? Is there still a heartbeat in this business? Do people still have the dream that they had when they first got involved to create that original dream of the founders, which was to create that legacy company that we can not only enjoy for our families, but for generations to come? And after a lot of talks with Lyndon and a really long talk with Craig, sitting there with my wife on the beach chairs, I came back and I told Terry, it's worth it. We got the best people in the world. Then he said, let's do it. And several weeks later, Terry was able to acquire Jeunesse. And I can tell you, there are a lot of things behind the scenes that we've been doing, that we have been fixing. I made the joke today, and I don't know if it's a funny joke or not, but one of my favorite movies is The Titanic. And when Terry first called me and he said, Jason, what's the status of Jeunesse? I just started singing to him. Every night in my dreams, I see you. Anyway, he says, it's that bad. I said, I think it's that bad. Well, can we save it? I said, let's figure it out. And the answer is yes. And the answer is we are saving it. The answer is we're stabilizing it. The answer is we have taken the Titanic. Many of you have seen that picture of the Titanic when it was half in the water. We've got it above the water. We're still plugging the holes underneath the boat, but we're now creating a new story. Jeunesse Reimagined, as Lyndon so eloquently talks about it, where we take all of the beautiful things that you love about Jeunesse that are still here. We take all of the things about Jeunesse that weren't beautiful, and we put those to the side, and we let those sink into the ocean. But then we build the new infrastructure and the new banks to be able to hold the river. And so that is what we've been aggressively doing. And I can tell you, we are making incredible strides. We are working 20 hours a day, Lyndon included, in order to make that happen, to create that foundation so that you can go bring the biggest river, the biggest rain that you can imagine, and that fall doesn't happen again, because now we've learned and we have the wisdom, like I talked about in the beginning, the experience, because we went through it ourselves and we watched it happen. And so, Lyndon, that's what we've been working on. I can tell you we've got a clear path to an incredible future. We've got some new products that we are aggressively working on creating. We've got Dr. Giampapa and Dr. Nathan Newman who are partnering together to create 2 brand new products for all of you, which I don't like the word revolutionary. I think it's very overused. However, I believe that these are life-changing products that are wrapped around not just ingredients that you can find at any health food store in Australia or across the world, but patented technologies that no one will be able to compete with us with, because Terry owns the rights, he owns the patents, and he's surrounded these different ingredients and different products with patents. And so that's going to be a huge story moving forward. Jeunesse Reimagined for me is rebuilding the trust that very candidly and very frankly and very honestly was lost with many of you, and letting you know that, we are going to be a distributor first company. We are going to seek your input about every decision that we make. And I can tell you that we hear you, we see you. I've been on Zooms with many of you, and if not with you, with your leaders and your upline, diamonds, and we hear you and we see you. And we want to build that trust back so that you can be proud to say that we have great products. We've got great culture. We do the best events in the world. We do the best trips in the world. We have everything it takes to be successful. But the one thing that we have better than anybody in the world is we have the best leadership and the best people that we can trust, not only with our lives, but our families' lives as we move on into the future. And I can tell you that I've had a lot of success, as has Lyndon. There are a lot of people that are a lot more successful than me, but I would never have taken this role on as CEO, as your CEO, if I did not believe that we could turn this corner, we could turn this around, and we could grow and be better than we ever were before. It's going to take a lot of work. I believe it's going to take longer than I thought. I think it's going to be harder than I thought. But I do believe that it is going to be better than I could ever think. So,
Jason,
Lyndon, back to you.
Thank you, mate. I do know everyone here in the room, and I'm the same. Over the past 10 plus years, depending on how long people have been part of the business, it had felt very much, like being part of a family, having that sort of connection, that family-owned company, that Wendy and Randy effect. Now, we know Wendy and Randy, Father Time has really caught up with both of them, with their age and need to, to retire and take time away. Being able to gain that same sort of connection with Terry and understanding, obviously, what you said is professionalism and capabilities in creating an incredible infrastructure to support a network company. But tell us a bit about him, the man, the mystery, the personal side of Terry. What makes Terry Lacore tick, and what makes him an amazing man, in your opinion?
Well, I'll take you back, Lyndon, to that pizza shop in North Dallas. What Terry told us that day, Terry has stuck to for the last 16, 17 years. And he looked at Brian and he looked at me that day and he said, I want you guys to understand something. He said, I've been doing this a long time and I don't know a lot, but I know people. And everybody from the outside, if we go down this road together, everybody is going to try to come between me and you. The corporate staff that I hire is going to try to come between me and you. The distributors, the field, are going to try to come between me and you. He said, but here's what I want you to understand. My word is my bond. You can take what I tell you to the grave, that who I come to the dance with is who I'm going to leave the dance with. No ifs, no ands, no buts, 100% of the time. And I have watched Terry honor that for the last 16 years. And when all of this started happening with Jeunesse, I had no intention of ever being a corporate executive in a network marketing company. I loved being a distributor way too much. Again, I'm not good at a lot of things, but I think I got pretty good at that. And when Terry told me after we left Hawaii, Lyndon, he said, Jason, I need someone to run this company. I need a CEO. And you're the only person that I trust to do it. And I said, Terry, why? He said, because you're the only person who understands the hearts, the minds, and the needs of the distributor base, not just in network marketing, but in Jeunesse Global. And you've also, because of your relationship with Randy and Wendy and a lot of people behind the scenes, have watched what's happened the last 3 years in this business. He said, so those two things are very important. He said, but the third thing is what I told you at the pizza shop. Who I come to the dance with is who I'm going to leave the dance with. And we have the ability to do something very special, and I want you to lead that charge. And when I say I trust Terry, not only in business, I trust him around my family. I trust him around my kids. I trust him around my wife. Because when I met Terry, he was dating his wife. His wife and my wife happen to have the same name. Both of their names are Jen, spelled with one N. And I was there when Jen and Terry fell in love, way before I met my Jen. And I watched the way that he treated Jen. And then I watched them get married, and I watched them have 4 children, and I watched them the way that he treats his kids. I watched the way he raises his kids. I watched the way he instills the things that I want to instill in my children into his children. And if you were to ask me one thing, why are you following Terry Lacore? Is because I trust his word. And I trust that when he says that when he enters the race, he enters to win, he doesn't enter to lose, that I would never bet against him, against anyone. I would bet against everyone you know in network marketing against Terry Lacore. I'd bet against the top distributors in Jeunesse that may have left this company, that may be trying to hurt this company. I would take Terry Lacore over them all day long, all week long, all month long, and as we say in South Louisiana, twice on Sunday. Because his will to win, his commitment to excellence, his leadership ability, and his word are second to none. And that's what I love about Terry Lacore.
I've got to absolutely echo those words. Having the opportunity to talk to Terry a lot, he was certainly the very reason why I have never been as excited about Jeunesse as much as what I am today. I think he was absolutely the X factor that we need. His skill set, but definitely he's a man of honor and principles. What does he like to do in his spare time? I know that he loves working with kids. I know that he is an absolute sports fanatic, and a lot of the principles that sports teach you. Tell us a little bit about the personal side of Terry Lacore.
Well, I can tell you this, Lyndon, he is all about his kids and his wife and their family. If you go to his house, which I hope one day all of you will have the opportunity to do so, I'm going to get in trouble. I know this is recorded, so I hope he doesn't see this. But if you ever do come to Dallas and you come tour Lacore Logistics and Lacore Nutra and Lacore Merchant Services and this massive, thing that he's created in North Dallas, I'm going to take you to Terry's house. Okay. And his house is impressive. It's pretty amazing. I don't know. It's probably one of the biggest, and I've been in some big houses. It's one of the biggest. It just keeps going and going and going and going. But what's awesome about this house is it revolves around his kids. And he's got his kids' stuff is everywhere, but it's all thought out. And there's pictures of them everywhere. And there's, the different teams that they've been on. And he's got this game room with a basketball court, and he's got all these different things because it's all about his kids. Terry has made a lot of money. Terry is wealthy. Terry is, I used to say, you could fake a car, you could fake a house, but you probably aren't going to be able to fake a jet. Or 2 jets or 3 jets or 4 jets. Well, Terry keeps having to buy bigger jets because he takes his children's sports teams around the world to play in tournaments, and he has to have a jet big enough to take them. And so that's his life. And funny story, Lyndon, which you all will see when you come to Dallas, Terry and I shared the love of basketball. We were both probably, too short and too slow to ever, play at a very high level. But we love basketball. And Terry was a great basketball player. He was a better basketball player than me. One of his sons is one of the best basketball players at 12 or 13 years old in the whole country. And so Terry, during COVID, Terry is a big giver. Terry gives a lot of money to churches. He gives a lot of money to organizations. He gives a lot of money to help children that are less fortunate get educations, all over Dallas and the community where he lives. And he does it very quietly. He doesn't sing it from the mountaintops. He doesn't talk about it. But when you walk into Lacore Logistics, which is where all the shipping and receiving happens for all of the products, and eventually, in due time, all the Jeunesse products, he walks you into this door. And you walk into this door, and when you go in, there's like 5 full-court basketball courts connected to the facility where all the packaging and everything happens. And you walk in, and it's like Field of Dreams for a basketball player. I said, Terry, why did you do this? He said, well, I was giving all the money to this local school, and when COVID happened, they let people have church, but they wouldn't let us play basketball in the gym. So I said, if I give you $100,000, can you let my kids play basketball in the gym? No, it's the parish city law, whatever. We can't do it. He said, okay. He said, you're not going to get that money from me anymore because I'm going to have to go build my own gym. So he built his own gym for his kids and for their teams. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to go take kids who want to learn leadership and learn it through basketball. and I'm going to start a school, and I'm going to go hire the best teacher in the county, the area where they live, and I'm going to pay that teacher 3 times what that teacher is making in the public school system. And I'm going to create a basketball academy, but that's accredited for the state of Texas. And my kids and their teams are going to come, and I'm going to teach them leadership. I'm going to teach them all the things that we talked about that I'm instilling in my kids, and I'm going to teach them how to play basketball. And now he has the #1 AAU basketball team in the whole country because they study 3 hours a day and they play basketball 5 hours a day, and Terry is their coach. So that's what he does in his spare time, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, I think it is pretty awesome. And I spoke to Terry during the week. He was had just dropped off 10 or 12 kids back to a hotel. He was the bus driver. And and we had a good hour-long plus conversation about what was happening with Jeunesse. I know that over the last 5...
Can I say one more thing? I want to share this because I think this is also important. You know, I know all of you are probably on social media, and you see the same things that I see. One of the things that has been a common theme that I've seen a lot lately is this. You can tell the true character and integrity of a person by the way that they treat people that can't possibly do anything for them. That's why I love Terry, because Terry spends his time, energy, and effort when he's not doing business, helping people, not giving them a handout, but giving them a hand up. And these are people that most people would never have given an opportunity to or a chance to. And that is who Terry Lacore is.
It's so true. I mean, he's someone that does so much, but he's not someone that craves the spotlight or the notoriety. He just goes about his business, which I think is pretty amazing. I know over the past 5 weeks, there's been a whole lot of stuff that's taken place in Jeunesse, but most of that has been behind the scenes. Like you say, plugging those holes, putting these pieces of the puzzle back together again, fixing the framework of Jeunesse so that we can then move forward. And I know in the coming weeks, we're kind of moving into that phase of moving forward. You did allude to some potential new products, which are very, very exciting, but what's some of the other things that we can expect to see over the coming months as we move forward?
It's a great question, Lyndon. And when I said earlier that we hear you, we see you, and we're listening, I had the opportunity to do Zooms with over 100 diamonds in the last 6 weeks. And each one of those diamonds made a list for me of what they believed we needed to do to move forward in the right direction, to create the business, not just that this was, but a reimagined business, an enhanced business, something better than it was. And many of you and your leaders said, we want a new story, we want new products. Many of you said we need to fix the compensation plan, especially for the people at the bottom levels of the business just coming in. Many of you, and I heard this probably on every call, are not big fans of what I've learned is called the 300 rule. So I can tell you that we're working on the products, we're working on the stories. We've now made it, and I think we're going to be able to make this a permanent fixture in the comp plan that all brand new people for the last couple of weeks that have come into the business have the ability to come in and build the same exact comp plan that all of you built when you got involved. My plans in the future are not only to continue that, but to enhance the comp plan at those lower levels for those brand new people, because I do believe that the lifeblood of your business are new customers and new people that may have never done network marketing before, new people that are seeing those circles for the first time and getting that dream like we all had when we saw it for the first time. I think we need to make the business better for them. And so we're working on that. But we're also working for those of you that have reached the higher levels on figuring out a way to modify and change that 300 rule. I mean, it's my goal to get rid of it. We're running models literally every week on doing so. But in saying that, it's also very important for those of you that have decided to stay here, for those of you that have decided to, to plant your roots in the foundation of this company. It's also important that you understand that I want to build a comp plan that's attractive, that's relevant, that pays, that incentivizes people based on the work that they do and then some. But I do not want to build a comp plan again that is going to fall apart when growth slows down and you can't feed that comp plan based on other growth that's happening across the world when the business where you live has slowed down. And that was a challenge that happened with the previous comp plan from Jeunesse inception until now. And so I ask people this question: do you want to make a lot of money quickly, or do you want to make a lot of money for a very long time? It's not really how much you want to get paid in the next 6 or 7 weeks. It's how long you want to get paid. And my goal is to create a sustainable model that, again, is relevant, it's attractive, it's competitive, but our products, our people, our culture, our foundation, our infrastructure, our banks, our river, our leadership, as well as that comp plan is what locks people and glues people into this business. But I hear you. We are going to make the comp plan better, and we are working that as about 2 hours of my every day is figuring that out. We're working on making products more available. We're working on shipping costs. We're working on merchant issues with credit card processing. We're working on all the things that you all have shared. Those are all improving. They're all getting better. And I can tell you, we're working on creating some incredible events for the future. We're already fulfilling the travel obligations that, were made before we got here. That at the time the company was not in the financial situation to be able to pay for. So our plan is to move into even better trips in the future, have better events in the future, and to create that family again. But it's different when you create the family for the first time with new people. It's better when you create the family again with people that have been through a lot and understand and have the same battle scars, because then you've been through something. And that's why I'm excited to see all of you here, as I can see you on my screen, because as Lyndon told me, as Rachel told me, as Craig told me, who are all three just doing an incredible job, that most of you could have gone somewhere else and done something else. You have the talent and the ability and the network to do that. But you decided there was something worth saving here and something worth keeping. And so creating that family even tighter with you is what I am most excited about moving forward.
So, Jason, I certainly know that obviously there's been like a big culture change movement within Jeunesse. I know that Jeunesse has become a lot more distributor-centric. So that interaction between corporate people like yourself and talking and communicating and getting feedback from those leaders in the field has become a real big part of our culture and who we are. But Jeunesse is a real unusual company when it comes to who's actually done the majority of the heavy lifting. When we look at, who has been the most significant group of people that helped to make Jeunesse the success that it was. And I think that group of people probably has felt a little bit under-recognized and under-respected. Tell us a bit about who those people are and a little bit about some of those changes in the future.
Well, I'm happy to do that, Lyndon. And I was actually, my last two events that I have done, as well as this event, I think I can see pretty well. The majority of the people that are here and that have stayed and that believe in Jeunesse are the Chinese. And when I first got into the business, I told the Canada group here today, and we had about 100 people here today, and it was a great group of people, and they were excited and enthusiastic. And about 90% of them do not speak a word of English. My first Jeunesse event was in Hong Kong. I asked Randy Ray and Wendy Lewis, where can I go to a meeting in the United States? They said, you can't, because we don't have any. You need to go to Hong Kong. I had never been out of the United States of America. I said, Hong who? He says, Hong Kong. And so my wife and I got on a plane, and I was scared to death to go to Hong Kong. And so you would think I did this because I was a good network marketer. I just didn't want to go by myself. So I called a buddy of mine named Bill. I said, Bill, will you go to Hong Kong with me and look at this business? I don't want to go by myself. I will buy your ticket if you come. I will pay for your hotel if you come. I'll pay for your food, Bill. And Bill was a big guy. He ate a lot. If you come, I don't want to go by myself. He says, I'd love to come. Can I bring some people with me? I said, sure, Bill. You can bring whoever you want with you. So next thing I know, Bill has 6 people going with him to Hong Kong. I don't know what he told him. I didn't tell him anything about the business. Well, then I start calling people saying, hey, Tony, you know Bill? Yeah, I know Bill. Well, Bill and 6 other people are going to Hong Kong. We're going to see this new business. And then Tony came. And then Tony brought 4 people. So we ended up going to Hong Kong with like 15 people. And I walked in that room. And Lyndon, you were there. There were 5,000 people in there. 4,996 of them. Well, 4,900 and maybe 86 of them were Chinese. And everybody that went across that stage, except Randy, Wendy, I don't think they let Scott talk back then, and Teresa Gregory, everybody else that went across that stage spoke no English. They all spoke Chinese, which I learned was Mandarin or Cantonese, but it was not English. And I didn't understand a word they said. But you know what? Sometimes you don't have to hear the words. You don't have to understand the words. It's not the words that you spoke. It's the music that I heard. It's the feeling that I felt. And I had never felt anything like that in my life in the network marketing world or anywhere. And so I watched your work ethic. I watched your passion. I watched your, how do I say this? You never asked for anything. You weren't entitled. You didn't ask for special deals. You didn't ask for millions of points. You didn't ask for, blown out legs and people to be put. You didn't ask for any of that. You just put your head down and you said, give me a comp plan that works. Give me a product that works. Give me events that I can bring people to, pay my checks on time, and give me some incredible trips if I work hard around the world. And that is exactly what built Jeunesse Global. But I believe was very underappreciated by everyone at Jeunesse Global. And so my mission is to let you know and to make sure you know that you are heard, you are seen, you are appreciated, and that this company, while we will attract people from across the world, from all different countries, this company for me, and you can put me down on record for saying this, is going to flip. It's already flipped. All the attention, all the money, all the resources were put for the last 12 years to groups that were not Chinese. Now all the money, now all the resources, now all the recognition, now all the empowerment, all of that is now going to flip, and that is going to be put toward the Chinese. Will we still help everyone else? You bet. Do we have people all over the world that we are going to support? Yes, we are, but not like we are going to support you. So you have my commitment that this company moving forward, I don't know if I will ever learn Cantonese or Mandarin, but I'm sure as heck going to try, because I'm going to spend a lot of time with everybody in that room and everybody all over the world that flies the Chinese flag.
Well, that's music to my ears, Jason.
And I don't even know. I can't see your faces, so I'm hoping that they have some Chinese people in that room.
There is one or two. So I know, Jason, for me, probably the biggest regret, and if I could have time over, was that I didn't start working harder and faster with a lot of the Chinese leaders that are here in the room right now, because I know I've had some of the most amazing memories of my networking career with a lot of my Chinese family here. And by the way, I know you're an adventurous eater. There's lots of Chinese here in the room that can show you all sorts of dishes I thought you had never even imagined. So I'll hold them to that. So guys, Let's give Jason Borné, CEO of Jeunesse, a huge round of applause and thank him for chatting with us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
All the way from Canada. So thanks again, Jason Borné. I really appreciate what you do.
You got it, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Lyndon.
See you, mate.
All right, bye-bye.